Hi, I'm Dr. Mollie Marti, and welcome to Resiliency Matters. On today's very special show, we are having a conversation with Dr. Edith Eger, a psychotherapist, an author, and a Holocaust survivor. Dr. Eger is also Worldmaker's 2021 Hope Builder Award recipient. I think you will quickly find Edith wise, inspirational, and feisty. She has a zest for life that is contagious. So welcome, Edith.
Thank you. Welcome. So happy to be with you, Mollie. You're a very accomplished woman, done so much and have yet to arrive. You're still in the process of becoming. And so am I.
Aren't we all? We're just getting started. So that's a great place to start, I think, because over this past month or so, you have celebrated your 94th birthday. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You also have lost your longtime life partner. You called him your dancing partner. And that's a lot of life just in a month. What would you say is important to understand about feeling all of that, letting all of that in, the light, the dark, in order to live wholeheartedly?
I think it's very important for me to know that people don't come to me, they're sent to me. And that's why I welcome anyone at any time and looking at them as that spirit who was sent to me, and then that spirit went home. And it's very important to acknowledge that the more we suffer, the stronger we become. That anything that is happening to us, in my case, I used to ask myself in Auschwitz, does anyone know that I'm here? I didn't know what was going on. I felt so alone and so scared that maybe I have done something wrong. And I think it's very important for me to tell people that there'll never be another you, that you are unique, you're one of a kind, and no one can ever replace you if you leave this room now. And that's why I respect you so much for what you do and what you are and what you're about to really prepare, hopefully, to change the world to be a better place than we are now.
Thank you. We're going to talk a lot about that in our time together and that next generation or generations of hope builders. Another thing I want to address, I think, up front is it would be very easy for people to come to you given your experiences, many of which I think most people would find nearly unimaginable, and compare themselves to you or say, oh, how can I even complain? Edie went through that. I can't even consider my own pain or loss. And you write in the choice, there is no hierarchy of suffering. There's nothing that makes my pain worse or better than yours. Can you talk about the importance of giving ourselves permission to honor our own experiences and to use the experience of others as inspiration and not to minimize our own path?
That's such a wonderful question. I really appreciate letting me know that what I have experienced was hell, and not to try to minimize it or try to run from it or fight it, but to be able to recognize that it's very important for us to think about our pain. And when a woman comes to me and tells me that she was inappropriately touched, but how can she tell me when I was in Auschwitz? And my answer is to her, I knew the enemy and you didn't. So it's be very careful what you're saying. because I was told every day I'm never going to get out of here alive. And I'm here to tell you, because I didn't allow anyone to get to me, that I made up my mind that they were the prisoners, not me. And they were wearing a uniform that was based on a lie, a big lie. And we kept listening to it and repeat it until people believe it. So I think it's very good to question authority, and that's what you're doing too. So people would really know that they know, rather than just seeing the way the world should be or could be. No, I live in a present. I can only touch you now. The past is gone. There is one thing I cannot change, is the past. So I could have, I should have, I don't go there. I say what now, and hopefully I can do something differently, not better or worse, that hopefully people will look at the same thing from a different perspective. And I think that's what Jesus said when he said to turn your cheek, to look at the same situation differently. Auschwitz was an opportunity to discover that life is from inside out, not to wait for someone to liberate me or take care of me. And I think that was a wonderful lesson for me, to be the guide to others, how to come out somehow differently, and not to just stay and revolve in one place, going around and around and around, and then there is no end in sight. I like the idea of human growth and to be able to evolve rather than revolve.
Well, and Auschwitz was a wonderful lesson, and it's what you did to bring forth that lesson. Before we were chatting, and you referenced yourself as hoping to be my midwife in the work that we're doing, and you are to so many people. I think that's exactly the point, is that everyone has their own journey to make, their own contribution to make, and we are going to be continuing to pull from these. I have these always ever near, and we're going to put that information up on the screen and for our viewers. One quote that really landed when I was reading your book, you wrote, "Once you get angry, you give your power away. When you are angry, you can't hear you. I'm very selective with who gets my anger." And shortly after I read those words of yours, Edith, I read Courtney Martin. I don't know if you know Courtney, but she wrote this beautiful tribute to activist Dirk Tillotson, who was murdered in his home in Oakland. He was an education activist. And she was recalling him, and she said, "Dirk's anger isn't cheap. I'm struck by how often he focuses on what's possible rather than who's wrong." And so your words with Courtney's words, I took that into me, because that's one of my new mantras. Is like, my anger ain't cheap. If I feel like I'm going to bite or get engaged, I'm like, I take a step back and go, no, my anger ain't cheap. Would you talk about the cost of anger?
Yes, because when I'm angry at you, you don't suffer, I do. So that's why I'm very selective. Who's going to get my anger? There's nothing wrong with anger. It's not a primary emotion. Underneath of anger, there are many other emotions. And most of it has to do with anxiety, frustration, and fear. We're not born with fear. And I think fear begets more fear. And that's very important for us to recognize that fear and love does not coexist.
So when you can put a pause on that anger, it gives you greater opportunity to deal with what's underneath it.
That's right. That's right. And you will find that you may be stuck. You know, it's called you're constipated. And when you're constipated, you concentrate on a movement and see how you can not go back and do the same thing over and over again, because Albert Einstein told us that's the definition of insanity.
You also write about perfectionism, and as a longstanding perfectionist, now in longstanding recovery, this also really resonated with me. You write, perfectionism is the belief that something is broken. So you dress up your brokenness with degrees, achievements, accolades, pieces of paper, none of which can fix what you think you are fixing. Can you talk about filling ourselves up from inside out?
To look at life from inside out, it's so important, because many times people are dependent on someone to make you happy. And my mother took me to a ballet school, and I had a wonderful ballet teacher who told me that God built me in such a wonderful way that all my ecstasy comes from inside out. I had no idea what that word meant, ecstasy. I never told him I don't know that word, but when in Auschwitz, I discovered that while I wait for someone to make me happy, while I wait for someone to liberate me, I will not be happy. And I discovered in Auschwitz that there is a gift in everything, and there is hope in hopelessness. And I never, ever give up. I keep on climbing that mountain, and I slip and climb, but I always never is out of my vocabulary. I always do that. I never do it. No, that's not in my vocabulary. I can. Why? Because I can if I want to, but I have to want to change, and we are afraid. That's why we keep going back and doing things over and over again, because it's familiar.
And when you talk about the power of choice, which you go back to again and again, you highlight the importance of things you're bringing forth, right? Being present, being childlike, not saying you can't, but that you can, looking to tomorrow. All of those threads you're weaving for us so beautifully. So we are going to go to a few PSAs, and we will return and talk more about the power of choice and healing. So stay tuned.
Whether it's advice on managing your anxiety or tools to help you stay grounded, Coping-19 provides a range of resources and self-care tips to help you cope with this pandemic. We can help. Find the resources that work best for you at coping-19.org.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mollie Marti, and welcome back to Resiliency Matters with Dr. Edith Eger. Dr. Eger, I've noticed that when people ask you, do you have hope given, and then they fill in a blank with something devastating or heart-wrenching going on in our world, it's a long list, you very quickly respond, of course. What is your anchor or your guiding force in refueling your own hope for our world?
I say what I lived. And what I lived that helped me more than anything else is my curiosity. I always wanted to know what's going to happen next. So next is a wonderful word, especially women who are waiting for the right man to come along. And so I'm asking them, think about your thinking and get rid of always and never. Those are absolutistic words. And act as if you were what you're really capable of becoming, namely a survivor and not a victim, that you're for something rather than against something. And this is what I learned after I was liberated, when I was lying down and they put me in a cast and I could hardly breathe. And I was hoping that my parents are going to show up. But my parents didn't show up. I was also hoping that my boyfriend is going to show up, who told me I have beautiful eyes and beautiful hands. And he was killed the day before liberation. So I think it's very, very important for us to think about our thinking, to be realistic. It doesn't mean we don't stop dreaming, but it really means that dreams are not the same as reality. I still dream that someday we're going to hold hand in hand, that we're going to be brothers and sisters. I never give that up. I met Martin Luther King, thank God, in Washington in 1963. And I even got a hug. And I was also in Birmingham, Alabama, when 9 children were killed in the church. So I think love is not what you feel, it's what you do. And I am doing everything in my power to see to it that we're not going to repeat history. But unfortunately, January 6th, there was a sign on a shirt, 6 million was not enough. And I realized that history has a tendency to repeat itself. And I'm very sad about that. January 6th, I never thought when I came to America that anything like this could ever happen. I'm very disappointed, but I am not giving up. I still want to find something to be for rather than against. And I'm for us to unite and empower each other. So you can be you, Molly girl, and I can be Edie, grandma. And my great-grandson calls me Gigi baby because I'm short. He's very short too, but I'm Gigi baby. And that's lovely. I have now 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandsons. And I'm going to show you that those twins, I have even a pair of twins. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see
Yeah,
it?
they can see it.
We can. Beautiful, beautiful. Gigi baby.
Baby. That
And-
was actually my Happy New Year card with this, me. I'm so happy to talk to you about being for something rather than I don't like that, I don't want that. It's better to say yes, I am, and yes, I can, and yes, I will, and never ever give up. There is hope in hopelessness. There is light that we can look for in the darkness. And I know I did that. And I'm here now.
You did that and you are doing that and you or carrying that light, as you say, doing everything in your power to do that, and you're passing on that baton, right? That's the Hope Builder Award. We say it's presented to an individual who responded to great adversity with courage and hope, showing us how to transform our own heartbreak into a better world for others. As Desmond Tutu wrote about your work, your life, he said, your life reveals our capacity to transcend even the greatest of horrors and to use that suffering for the benefit of others. So what would you say, Edie, to the next generations of hope builders, right? You have this light, you are not dropping this light until your last breath, and you're passing it on. What advice do you have for those being prepared to carry that torch?
I call young people ambassadors for peace. This is how I talk to young people, that I'm counting on them, that I do everything in my power that we can eliminate prejudice, which means to prejudge. And I will do that as long as I live, because I owe it to my parents that they didn't die in vain. Very important for me to ask people to really think about their thinking, that they can be, each and every one, ambassadors for peace and goodwill.
I write about my life's greatest mentor, and every day he said a prayer. Dear God, help me make a contribution to a just and peaceful world. And I thought that's such a beautiful practice of pulling that in, and individually, if we all walk that path, what does that look like? So I love that word of ambassadors for peace.
Yes, you are that. And love is, again, not what you say, but what you do. And you are committing yourself. When you get up in the morning, I know that you really plan a day that in the evening you feel very satisfied that you, one person, unique and one-of-a-kind diamond, and that's where you go the next day. You get up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, I'm going to have a very productive day today, and nothing can interrupt me. Nothing can interrupt me. I am in charge. I am a take charge person of my thinking, my feeling, and of course, my behavior.
And I do that, right? I have my own individual practices, and then I do that in collaboration, right? We need each other in so many ways. And you wrote about surviving the Auschwitz concentration camp, that the key was, quote, cooperation, not competition, not domination, because all we had was each other then, and all we have is each other now. So talk a bit more about how nurturing relationships and fostering collaboration is needed now, if in 21st century living, we are going to realize our potential to help more people thrive in this world.
I was just finishing a couple session, and I don't think he realized that he married someone who wears Chanel. I don't think he really realized that she is very expensive the way she dresses. She's very elegant, she's very beautiful, and she goes shopping to a place that he never saw it, much less been there. So I think we need to be realistic rather than idealistic, because if you're an idealist and you don't find what you're looking forward, you can be very disappointed, but I ask you not to be discouraged.
So a realistic optimism is a perspective that I embrace. One more quote from your books. I'm trying to feed in as much as I can, but this also really had an impact on me. You wrote, "To be passive is to let others decide for you. To be aggressive is to decide for others. To be assertive is to decide for yourself, and to trust that there is enough, that you are enough." Can you say more?
Well, I'm saying that the three things, that when I'm assertive, I choose for myself. When I'm non-assertive, I allow other people to choose for me. It's, important to know that you choose to vote for a president, and then that president doesn't come in for you. I think it's very important to know that that's what happens when you allow other people to choose for you. And when you choose for others, you're going to become aggressive. So many times when I work with couples, I look at the assertive, the non-assertive, and the aggressive, and see how we are many times operating on the choices that really is not in my best interest. So I ask people to think before you say anything and look at the consequences, or look at the punishment that comes with it. So to really think before you say anything, and hopefully you can be realistic, not idealistic.
Well, thank you for bringing it back to our choices. It, again, is the core of your work. As Worldmaker wrote in bestowing your Hope Builder Award, we said we honor Dr. Eger for her vibrant and profound reminder of the power of choice, the importance of forgiveness, and the capacity to heal and transform our wounds into hope for others. But I want to end on your words, Edith, as powerfully framed. You said the choice is to, quote, "choose to give up the prison and do the work to be free, to find in your suffering your own life lessons, to choose which legacy the world inherits, to hand down the pain or to pass on the gift." Thank you for your time with us today. Truly a gift.
Thank you. You're such a brilliant, beautiful interviewer. I hope we get to meet and give each other a big hug.
We've talked about getting together in person. We're all missing that. So yes, you say the word and I am on a plane to California. Viewers, thank you for joining us today on MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.